What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Jeremy coming to you with another video, and today we are talking about The Mandalorian and how it is impacting the Star Wars universe and the reception of The Mandalorian. I've talked about it, and overall, I'm very much enjoying The Mandalorian. I've had some ups and downs with the show. Season 1, I didn't think it was great. It was good. It was fine. There was a lot of problems here and a lot of problems there, but on an enjoyment level, I enjoyed it just fine. Then we moved into season 2, and the first episode was decent enough. It was good. And then we got to the second episode, and I don't know what it was about the second episode, but I really did not like the second episode. And I had a very, very negative reaction to that. And I kind of just said, the show is this, the show is that, it's boring, it's this. And it's really not. And I even talked about that. I have since given clarification to that after we got to episodes 3 and 4. I said I overreacted to my criticisms after season 2 and then labeling the entire series boring. It's not that the series was boring. It was very frustrating to me once we got to that second episode, and I feel like it was a step back instead of a step forward. But 3 and 4, and especially episode 5, were very good. And obviously we're here at the point of episode 5 with Ahsoka Tano, directed and written by Dave Filoni, one of the best, if not the best things that Disney Star Wars has given us up to this point. So I feel like we're in a good place with The Mandalorian. But unfortunately, The Mandalorian has not saved Star Wars, and it can't save Star Wars. So it's not a criticism for me to say that The Mandalorian can't save Star Wars. It's just a reality. It can't save Star Wars. Why can't it save Star Wars? Because the sequel trilogy still exists in this world. It's still part of canon. And The Mandalorian doesn't take place after the sequel trilogy. The Mandalorian takes place before the sequel trilogy. So all of the elements that are taking place within The Mandalorian are leading us to the sequel trilogy. So no matter how good it is, we still have Luke drinking green titty milk. We still have Jake Skywalker. We still have Rey. We still have the disastrous character development of Rey Skywalker. Yeah, she actually still said that in this universe that we're in. It still happened. All of the disaster that happened in the sequel trilogy still happened. So no matter how good the pieces are within The Mandalorian, it leads us to that. So even if you bring Luke Skywalker into it, and it's good, and look, I'm hoping to get Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, it's only going to further make The Last Jedi more irrelevant and more ridiculous. It's ridiculous that this is canon. It is bad. These are bad films. Again, as I've said, you can like them, and that's okay. But they are objectively bad films, especially within the world that they are supposed to exist in. So no matter how good The Mandalorian is, no matter how many wonderful things it does, no matter how well it does in terms of the characters it's portraying, we are heading towards the sequel trilogy in this universe. So it can't save Star Wars. It can only make the sequel trilogy more frustrating, which it's starting to do. We're getting to a point where The Mandalorian is starting to just, because of how good it's doing, it's only making the sequel trilogy even that much more frustrating. And it's really aggravating when you can see, regardless of your opinion of Dave Filoni, regardless of your opinion of Jon Favreau, you have to admit that these are people that have an understanding of the Star Wars universe, and they do have a certain level of appreciation for the Star Wars universe. We didn't get that in the sequel trilogy. J.J. Abrams knows nothing of Star Wars. I once upon a time thought he did. I was clearly wrong. Rian Johnson, we all know the story with Rian Johnson. I mean, every day he continues to prove how little he knows about Star Wars. He just doesn't care. He truly doesn't care. And then obviously The Rise of Skywalker, which was a disaster on its own too. I mean, these movies are so bad. And we continue to see these problems within Lucasfilm, and it seems like that there is many different voices that have a say-so at Lucasfilm. On one hand, you have Dave Filoni saying things, and then you have Kathleen Kennedy saying something else. You have Kathleen Kennedy giving all this power to Rian Johnson. You have J.J. Abrams making decisions that don't line up with Rian Johnson's. Then you have J.J. Abrams come back after Rian Johnson screws everything up, and J.J. screws it up even more. Meanwhile, Colin Trevorrow gets fired for seeming to be one of the few people that actually cares and respects Star Wars characters in the universe that it's in. Then you have Solo, hashtag Solo lost money. You just have a ton of different visions going on, and ultimately what you have is a lack of leadership. You have a lack of leadership at Lucasfilm because Kathleen Kennedy is terrible. She doesn't know what she's doing, and she has no handle on anything going on, and she doesn't even care. You have people that are far more qualified to run Star Wars that are having to work underneath her and deal with her terrible decision making. And ultimately, The Mandalorian just simply can't save Star Wars. It just can't. It can be good in isolation, and that's exactly why I said, hey, when it comes to the Mandalorian and this specifically this episode, I loved this episode. I loved everything that they did with Ahsoka. I loved Rosario and her performance, Dave Filoni's writing, the atmosphere. Everything worked. I didn't love the Baby Yoda name, and I'm still going to continue to call him Baby Yoda. I don't like Grogu. I don't hate it. It's just it just doesn't work for me. Maybe it'll grow on me in time, but it's not working for me at this particular point in time. But that episode was phenomenal, and I loved it. Just like I loved the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars Season 7. Fantastic. Amazing. I loved everything about it. But it exists in isolation because within the world, within the universe that it takes place in, it's all leading us towards the sequel trilogy, and the sequel trilogy is just that bad. And the better The Mandalorian is, the worse that it makes the sequel trilogy. It only makes it more frustrating, and I feel like that's what's happening with a lot of people that might be enjoying The Mandalorian that didn't think they could. A lot of people that were very anti-Disney Star Wars are enjoying The Mandalorian, and I think that they're looking at it and they're only becoming more frustrated because they know where we're heading. And there are legitimate reasons why some people don't like The Mandalorian, and I'm not here to dispute that. Ultimately, the whole entire point of this video is to say The Mandalorian is doing good. People are genuinely liking The Mandalorian, but it can't save Star Wars. As long as the sequel trilogy is canon, nothing can save Star Wars as long as we're telling stories that happened before the sequel trilogy. The only thing that can improve Star Wars is telling stories well beyond the sequel trilogy. Hundreds of years after the sequel trilogy, moving well beyond all of that bullshit and moving forward with new characters, new stories, and new mythologies, because everything leading up to that is all going to be compromised. That's the unfortunate situation we find ourselves in, and that is what happens when you allow people that don't know or care about Star Wars to tell the stories, the most important stories with the most important characters in the universe. And that is ultimately Kathleen Kennedy's fault, and she is a failure. She is a terrible leader. She is a disaster, and she does not deserve to be in this position. But she is, and no matter what happens, she has destroyed Star Wars for the foreseeable future. You guys have a great day. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.